If you're a high income professional and you don't do these 10 things in the Q1 of every single year, you're almost guaranteed to overpay in taxes, not save up enough for retirement, and miss some very good investment opportunities. Your income alone won't save you. You need a system. This is the only Q1 financial checklist you'll ever need, a checklist I personally use. It's ranked in the order of priority, and you're not going to want to miss the top 3. Hi, and welcome to the Money Matters MD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Abhishek Gadre. I'm a practicing physician, and I help high-income professionals like you take control of your money. Now, checklist item number 10 is checking the progress of your retirement goals. I want you to set a FI number, which is a financial independence number. That's the amount of dollars that you need to save to become financially independent and retire if you wanted to. The way to calculate that number is calculating your monthly expenses and annual expenses that you'll need to survive in retirement. Let's say that number is about $100,000 a year. You will need to save 25 years worth of money, which would be $2.5 million to successfully retire. Now, if you belong to the FIRE community and you want to retire early, you probably need to save up to 30x the annual spending amount. So you might need to save up to $3 million if you want to spend $100,000 a year. Now, bear in mind, this math, just to make it easy, does not involve Social Security, but you should include that in your retirement income assessment. So I want you to calculate the multiplier that you are at today in terms of how many years of spending in retirement that you have saved and invested as of today. So if you have saved $1 million and you want to spend about $100,000 in retirement, your multiplier is about 10x, which is fantastic. Now, your goal should be to save 25 to 30x that multiplier amount. Now, I want you to track this multiplier every single year in Q1 and track your progress towards your retirement goals. Now, within point number 10, another number I would like you to track is your Monte Carlo analysis success rate percentage. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, Monte Carlo analysis is basically a mathematical model which stress tests your portfolio through various different market conditions just to see if your portfolio is going to survive and how long and how successful will it be. So you can't really do this math by yourself. You have to use a model, something like newretirement.com. Now it's called bolden.com. I personally like that website quite a bit. There are a bunch of other softwares. You can even use Fidelity's online calculator. Now, you're not really shooting for a 100% success rate. You're shooting for anything above a 90%, I think would be a quite excellent number to shoot for. Now, Monte Carlo analysis is an excellent topic to nerd out on and deserves its own separate video. So if you don't know what it is, I will make a separate video about it, but it should certainly be one of the numbers in your checklist, which you should track every single year. Now, checklist item number 9 is reviewing your investment portfolio performance. Now, every new year, you want to look at the past year and see how all your ETFs and mutual funds performed and how your overall return was. Did your portfolio go up or go down in value? You also want to address your goal portfolio allocation. Now, I want you to have a goal portfolio allocation, maybe an Excel sheet, which tells you how much percent stocks and how much percent bonds you need to be, how much cash you ideally need to have. And every single Q1, you want to rebalance back to that goal allocation for stocks and bonds and cash. Now, ideally, as you get older in your accumulation phase and you're in mid to later career, you want to become slightly more conservative every single year. And you want to allocate 1% more to bonds every single year so that by the time you're age 65, time comes to retirement, you don't want to suddenly switch from 100% equities to like a 60-40 or 50-50 or something. You want to buy into it slowly, 1%, and I want you to do it in the Q1 of every single year. Now, item number 8 is reviewing your foundational documents. Now, I want you to review your beneficiary designations on all your retirement accounts. If there's any changes, make sure you update them. I also want you to review your family trust documents. Now, maybe you have kids and maybe you now have grandkids and something has changed in your life. And you want to make sure you address it at least once a year and make sure all of that is on point. Now, item number 7 is reviewing your debts. Now, this is the one time in the year you definitely want to review how your capital is allocated and how leveraged you really are. Depending on how high the interest rates are on your debts, you might want to decide to pay them off earlier or keep them hanging around. Now, a lot of people who bought their houses in 2020 or 2021 got really lucky and have mortgages in like the 2.5 to 3% range. And they don't necessarily need to pay their mortgages off. On the opposite side, if you have like a 7 or 8% mortgage, or maybe you have credit card loans and maybe you have student loans still hanging around, you want to prioritize them and pay them off early, because this is basically evaluating the opportunity cost of this debt. The higher the interest rate on your debt, the lower the likelihood that this is going to pay off in your favor. Now, item number 6 is reviewing your emergency fund. Now, most people need around 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. If you accessed your emergency fund last year, I want to make sure you refund it and bring it back up to target. Now, if you're in retirement, it's kind of like potato, but you may not need a separate emergency fund. You can just build in 1 or 2 years of conservative cash-like investments within your entire total investment portfolio. Now, if the market was doing poorly and you didn't touch your equities and you actually cashed in out of the conservative cash part of your allocation, this is the point where you would look at how your investments did, and maybe you want to liquidate some of your equities now and refund your emergency reserve again, depending how the market performed last year. The whole point of having a large cash allocation in retirement is not needing to touch equities when you're in the middle of a recession and the market is down 30 or 40%. Now, item number 5 is reviewing and updating your micro budget. Now, what is a micro budget? I have a whole separate video on that. If you're interested, you'd go ahead and watch it. Now, I want you to update your budget every single year. Make sure if your rent went up or your mortgage payment went up, or maybe Netflix is more expensive this year, I want you to update all of that in your micro budget so that you're accounting for all of those changes at least once a year. Now, as part of your micro budget, I also want you to review your short-term or intermediate-term savings goals. Now, maybe you're planning for a nice international vacation, or maybe you're saving for a first home down payment, or maybe you want to buy a new car. What's your plan? Have any of those goals changed, and are you contributing enough towards those goals? Now, one quick little thing before we move on. A lot of you viewers right now are not my subscribers. If you're interested in high quality personal finance videos, please check out my channel and subscribe to it. Please like and share this video as well. That tells YouTube that I'm making high quality content, and this helps the channel grow and tells the YouTube algorithm to show this video to more people just like you. Now, I do have a few affiliate links down in the description below, a few of my favorite books and tools and resources. These are affiliate links, and I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you. If you're interested, please check the links out, and thank you for supporting the channel. And just so you remember, this is not financial advice, and this is for educational purposes only. All right, so checklist item number 4. You're really getting into the meat of this thing now. Now, let's review all of your savings. Now, when talking about savings, I like to look at it in 3 tax buckets. Let's first look at your pre-tax bucket and your 401ks or your 403bs or your IRAs. I want you to log into your 401k plan or your employer-sponsored retirement plan, and make sure you update that 401k contribution from your employee payroll deferral, because it goes, the contribution amount, the maximum allowed contribution amount does go up every single year. If you are a high income professional, you really should be maxing out on that employee 401k plan, and make sure you update it every single January. If you are self-employed, I want you to make sure you look into your solo 401k plan and pay attention to any profit-sharing plan contributions that you need to make. Now, if you have a cash balance plan, that's also a pre-tax bucket. Make sure you max that out. Now, if you do have a cash balance plan, make sure you reach out to your TPA and make a contribution and max that out if you need to. Now, the second savings and investing bucket is the Roth bucket. Now, make sure you address any Roth contributions or backdoor Roth IRA contributions if your income is above the threshold. Now, if you have a solo 401k or your plan allows for that after-tax bucket, make sure you take care of any mega backdoor Roth 401k contributions that you might want to make. Now, I do have a whole separate solo 401k and a regular 401k video if you want to check out the details of any of this. Now, bucket number 3 is your taxable bucket. Now, this is your regular taxable brokerage account or any high-yield savings account that you may have. Make sure you review how much you've been saving in this particular bucket. Now, I personally prefer automating the taxable bucket so that you don't have to remember every single year how much you're contributing. Now, item number 3 is very, very important. This is what I call the macro budget. Now, what is a macro budget? It's not the same as your micro budget where you're looking at the small different categories of spending. A macro budget is a big picture plan for the entire tax year. Now, I have a whole separate video on macro budgeting as well, and you can check it out if you're interested. So I want you to calculate the net effective savings rate, the net effective tax rate, and the net effective spending rate, and compare it to your own self from the year before and see how you did. Now, you're not trying to compete with anybody else but your own self from the last year. Now, maybe you want to get up to a 20% net effective savings rate. What can you do differently? Maybe you can tax plan and cut back a little bit lower on the effective tax rate. Maybe you can spend a little bit less as part of your micro budgeting and save a little bit more. And that's what a macro budgeting looks like. And I want you to address it Q1 of every single year. Now, a lot of the topics in the checklist that I'm addressing today are entire full-length videos I've done separately on my channel. So if you want to look at the macro budgeting or micro budgeting or maybe 401k or Roth IRA or maybe solo 401k or even entity structures for small business, you can check out my channel for all of those videos. Now, checklist item number 2, and this is the important stuff, reviewing for any tax planning opportunities. Now, this is the point of time in the year in Q1, you want to reach out to your CPA and make sure that you are addressing any possible deductions that you might qualify for. Now, did you buy an EV last year? Or maybe you bought some solar panels, or maybe you have a home office deduction that you qualify for as a small business. Make sure you address all of that in Q1. And I want you to start collecting all your tax forms. So maybe you're an employee and you get a W-2, or maybe you're self-employed and you get 1099s, or maybe you're a shareholder and get K-1. I want you to start collecting all of them and file your tax returns in a timely fashion. Now, if you're a high income earner, maybe your investments are more complicated, and maybe you have a solo 401k plan or a cash balance plan. So, by the way, for the self-employed solo 401k plan holders, anybody who has more than 250k in their investment plans, you need to file a Form 5500 EZ every single year. So don't forget that. Now, if you did a backdoor Roth IRA contribution last year, make sure you file Form 8606 and submit the 1099-R form that you would have received. Now, similarly, if you did a mega backdoor Roth IRA contribution, you want to submit any relevant tax forms as well. Now, if you do have your own business entity, you want to go over your profit and loss statement and make sure you paid any quarterly estimated taxes. Now, quarterly estimated taxes also applies to retirees because you're not getting any W-2 withholdings from your employer anymore. If you're retired and you're getting investment income, you want to make sure you submit any quarterly estimated taxes. Now, before we move on to the checklist item number 1, the last thing in the checklist item number 2 here is addressing any real estate investments that you may have. Now, if you have any real estate properties or you have a separate LLC, again, you want to make sure you're estimating any profit and losses that you may have had on that. If you are part of a syndication, you're getting a K-1 shareholder distribution from that. Make sure you collect and submit that to your CPA. Depending on how many properties that this syndication or your real estate fund is investing in, maybe you need multi-state filings, and make sure you address that as well. Finally, checklist item number 1, the most important thing I want you to do Q1 of every single year is establish your net worth. So January 1st of every single year, I want you to calculate your assets and your liabilities and calculate your total net worth and compare it to the last January 1st and see how you did. Now, there's different ways to do this. You could use online tools like Empower.com, which used to be called personalcapital.com in the past. You could also use Fidelity's tools, or you could just use an Excel sheet and put all your investments on one side and all your assets. Maybe you have investment properties and maybe even your own primary residence. You can add all of that in your assets and put all your liabilities, your mortgage, or maybe you have credit card debt or your student loan debt, all of that on the other side, and calculate your total net worth. Now, I want you to calculate 2 different types of net worth. One is the net investable net worth, which does not include your primary residence. And the second is your total net worth, which does include your primary residence, because a lot of people don't plan on selling their primary residence and plan on living in it through the entire course of retirement. So you can't really take that as part of your calculation for retirement income. Now, why this is so important is that just being aware of your net worth helps grow it. Now, if you learned something useful today, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you for watching Money Matters MD. Over and out.